Hey everyone. So over the past few slides, we've gone over what social media addiction is as a whole, and we've also discussed the possible effects that come along uh, to social media users who tend to use these platforms too much. In this slide, we'll be going over the possible solutions that might come up for users that are trying to avoid or reduce their usage on social media. So we'll first start off by going over the solutions for individuals. The first solution is, I believe, the most important one, which is becoming self-aware addiction. First of all, I believe this is also very important because this literally sets up every other solution mentioned in this slide. Becoming self-aware of addiction is so important due to the fact that if you're not aware or if you don't know what your addiction is or what you're struggling with, where would the motivation be for you to try to make that change? So you might be asking yourself, how do you know that you're aware of your addiction? Well, according to the Washington Post, if you say yes to a few of these questions out of 6, that shows you are addicted to social media. The questions go like this. Do you spend a lot of time when you're not online thinking about social media or planning to use social media? Do you feel urges to use social media more and more over time? Do you use social media to forget about personal problems? Do you often try to reduce your use of social media without success? Do you become restless or troubled if you're unable to use social media? Do you use social media so much that it has a negative impact on your job, relationship, or studies? And I'm sure that to many of you, this has applied at least one of these questions. The next solution is turning notifications off. This is an important solution because, let's say if you're doing a homework assignment, an alert comes up. You're going to want to maybe check it out. But if you have your notifications off, you'll act like you never knew what the notification was, and you'll be able to get your goals and priorities done. Meanwhile, once you finish your priorities and goals, you'll be able to check on to these Instagram platforms and see what you missed. So you really don't lose anything. Next is the most obvious one, setting limits of social media usage. So once you're aware of your addiction, you're going to beginning to want to lower down the amount of time you use for each application. Next two go hand in hand, focus time on priorities and goals, and spending more time with family and friends. So once you're aware of the addiction, and once outside of the addiction of social media, you'll begin to appreciate more about what's in front of you, your friends and your family. You'll enjoy the enjoyment of it, and you'll begin to appreciate more about wildlife and nature and everything else. The next one is deleting social media apps you don't use. As you can see in the intro slide, we see a trend from 2012 to 2019 of the daily usage of internet users go up. In this case, since 2019 is at its peak right now, it shows that there's no downward trend of technology going down. With more technology being made, more apps will be made. More apps will be made. That will basically cause other users to latch on to different kinds of social media platforms. Next is ignoring the internet trolls and haters. And I know this doesn't occur to many of them, but to some of you guys who use the internet, they use it for being or addressing the rants and trolls and haters on the internet. I'm not trying to get too political for anything, but whenever President Trump tweets something out, many people, tend to send backlash over what he says. I guess what he says usually is nonsense or it's for publicity. The final solution is known as the digital detox experiment. And to clarify it, this is an experiment where you distance yourself from your electronics, social media, and everything else for like 30 days. After these 30 days, you might have a different thought about social media. And you might begin to question yourself if you really need social media after all. So this is an effective way for users to reduce their usage on social media. Before we move on to the solutions from social media corporations, others in society, I would like to point out that according to a New Year's resolution survey, the main goal reported by respondents for 2017 was to quit their social media habits, which easily beat out the goals of losing weight and smoking. The fact that it beat out smoking, which is the number one cause of death in America, shows how severe of an issue social media addiction is. Let's move on. So now we'll be beginning to talk about the solutions from the social media corporations and others in society. This can apply to family members and their thoughts on you, your friends on you. So here we go. The first solution is social media platforms showing pop-up ads or messages about the potential dangers of too much screen time for users who have been in the site for hours. So while you're on, let's say, while you're on Instagram, and if you notice a pop-up message that comes up about warning you about the possible effects that comes with being focused on the screen for so much, the users may begin to question if this is really worth it after all. The next solution is pretty unlikely because it's not realistic, but it's known as social media platforms intentionally limit the usage time for users daily. In this case, it's unlikely due to the fact that social media platforms or their corporations or companies, they want to get their money's worth. They built these applications from the scratch up, and they don't want to see their applications being stripped away just like that for something that they didn't really do, right? So what I mean by stripped away is, the less users that are online throughout the day, the less money they'll make, right? Social media platforms intentionally limiting the usage time. So let's say in one scenario, one person has a limit of 30 minutes. That's what the social media platform set up for that person. The rest of the day, the rest of the 23 hours and 30 minutes, he has free time. He cannot go on social media or do nothing. Though this will be a very beneficial solution towards society to decrease the trending epidemic of social media addiction, it's pretty unlikely. But if this is possible, it will give others a chance, or users a chance, to focus on their main goals in life and ignore struggling in school, or avoid struggling in school, my bad. The next solution is where parents, friends, or themselves reward themselves for limited screen time. So this kind of goes hand in hand with the one I just listed above. But, and this also goes hand in hand with the digital detox experiment. So let's say you have a limit of 30 minutes set by your parents for you to use all social media platforms. And if you fall through with that, let's say you get a treat, not a treat like a physical dog treat, but a reward. If you continue this trend, it will eventually become a habit for you. So by the next time you try it, let's say in a week or so, you won't really be asking for a reward, as it will become an ongoing habit. The last solution, in my opinion, is spreading more awareness about the flaws of social media in the news. Like global warming, social media addiction is definitely undermined or not focused around in the news world. People believe that the alcohol addiction, drug addictions, which has led to death, are the main kinds of addiction, but they're not so different from social media addiction, as social media addiction has surrounded or caused multiple kinds of injuries and deaths over the years, either from mental breakdowns or mental conditions or physical harm from their depression from social media. So, but to end off in a good note, as of July, Instagram has started to hide how many people like a post for many users globally. And this is heading to the right direction for Instagram's part, because nowadays Instagram is focused by users who only care about getting likes and are jealous about others of what people are doing, or how many more likes they have than their own, which is why I believe Instagram hiding likes will hide the insecurities and the jealousies towards other Instagram posts. If only other applications start following the same route, I believe this trend will still continue. So it's a good part by Instagram. But as of right now, we'll just see what the future holds. And that is a solution to social media addiction. Thank you.